Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
All right, please note that the language and ideas presented on the show might not be suitable for everyone. If you're under 18, make sure your mom isn't around. If you're over 80, why is your mom around?
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
This is the story of two R's, Rachna and Rohan, who founded a very interesting thing called CraYon Impact to help your life. If you're differently abled, if you have gender issues, if you have mental illness, or if you have problem with the urinary bladder issues, which I have, all these will be addressed by the two R's, Rohan and Rachna.
Why follow your auntie's advice when you can follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated about the latest shows?
Okay, here on Cyrus Says, returning from a flight in Kochi, again banged into everybody on the plane. Please understand, people, when you ask for your air ticket, when you look at it, you've already discussed the number with the teller. They've said 23B. You know where you're sitting. Don't get on the plane and start studying it like it's an exam. I don't know where I am. You know where you are. You know the number. You know exactly everything. Why does everybody do that? And the whole herd of monkeys in front of me, they all pause like they're going to be getting some sort of comatose disease where they're going to die in front in the next 5 to 10 seconds. Don't be paralyzed with fear. Just get on with it and we'll all move at a faster pace. In India, we need to get more efficient. It's called Cyrus Says.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Yeah, I'm with my wonderful guest here, CraYon Impact, but I want to just talk about my rant for a second. Every time I fly, I have the same problem. People don't want to show the baggage tag. We all know the rules. Keep it ready. If you keep it ready, you'll save so much time. But Auntie, Mrs. Sharma is there, and then suddenly she is told about the baggage tag. She acts like it's the first time ever. Huh? Kya? And then she looks up into a sari and under her shoe, and 15 minutes while she finds a damn baggage tag. Or you have someone like, Mr. Ravi who has 15 baggage tags, and he has to figure out which one it is. I don't know why we can't get it all right. And then you get on the plane, you know, because you fought over your seat numbers. You know your seat number. Again, everybody, please observe this. They all look at the damn ticket again. Some sort of nervousness, they just keep like it's changed. It can't change. It was 23B, it'll be 23B. It can't become 31C or another airline. Anyway, sorry about my rants, but I have too many problems. CraYon Impact, that's why you guys are here. We've got Rachna Iyer, who goes by the name Ray. We'll find out why in a second. And we've got Rohan Sabharwal, who goes by the name Rohan. Yep. You must find a pet name. That's Ray.
He has a pet name.
What is his pet name?
Roro.
Roro.
That's just something she's
As a heterosexual, I would like to comment here that I find it appalling. Roro. Now, if you're Bengali, it makes sense because Bengalis generally have that double name, Tun Tun, Lolo, Roro. That makes sense. Why Roro?
I don't know, it's something she's given me. I've never had a pet name before, and no one's ever called me Roro before this.
Yeah.
And it's one
of
those
things. It's a term
things
of endearment, beta.
Yeah, it's one of those things that your partner just gives you and you got to, it just sticks. You don't
but
like
when she does it in a conference with 40,000 investors, it'll be, and Roro here brings a lot to the party. Let me quickly set this up. CraYon Impact, is a social enterprise that curates and produces high-quality content around, and this is the important part, relevant social issues that are often buried deep in stigma, taboo, and misconceptions. Why are young people so interested in doing nice things? What's wrong with you? You're spoiling my name. All right. And the things that you all focus on are mental illness, disability, and gender. And we'll get to all of them one by one. Also, you do ground events. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which are very important. So you go across people from diverse backgrounds.
People from diverse backgrounds. We are very inclusive. So we have people, say for example, with a disability and without a disability performing. So the stage is kind of open. So
excellent.
So someone without a disability can come and perform about their own experiences with maybe having a family member or doing some research. Or
just a solidarity thing.
Yeah,
just want to come and be part of your thing to show that we're all friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's something that gets the dialogue going.
Okay. Now let's talk about CraYon Impact and you guys personally. How do you meet Rachna and who's Ray?
So I started writing when I was around 10 years old. I am a single kid, not a spoiled brat.
Parent, I thought you were going to say. It's fairly young to me.
And I didn't have too many people around that I'd like to talk
Bombay
to.
childhood?
Dubai.
Wow, I wish I could have been you. So what was it?
I ran
growing up
away
in a
from
mall,
there.
it must have been wonderful.
Yes. So I started writing in my journal and I started writing poetry at that age and somehow people's experiences really, I was very sensitive.
This is you as a young girl, like 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, like that young. And I started writing about, if somebody went through something, I would write a poem about, them. And initially it was very I feel really bad and I wish this person would feel better.
And thoughts to yourself.
Yeah.
Empathy that you felt.
Yeah, and at one point, like I actually wrote a letter to someone because I knew that she went through something, and I signed off as anonymous. And then she really, like, she wasn't stupid because she knew that the only poet in this flow that stays is me. So she actually met me in the elevator once, and she's like, that thing you wrote to me, like, really, like, changed how I looked about, in a good way, and you're like my ray of hope. And then since then I've just been signing off as Ray.
Don't feel bashful. I've got tears in my eyes. It's one of those Karan Johar moments for all of us.
Shake asu.
Yeah, let's dance. Okay, so and hence you kept the name Ray after that, is it? So almost like a ray of light, ray of hope, that kind of thing.
At that point, but now it just sounds very cool.
Now it sounds like you're in Maharashtra. Kai Ray?
Yeah.
Why do you choose Ray here, man? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a bit about who you are. Social entrepreneur, spoken word poet. Sorry, Rohan, we'll get to you in a minute, but it's always ladies first.
Yep.
Facilitator on inclusion, disability rights, as we mentioned, and alumnus of the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. They're fighting.
Yes.
So you were in TIS, and you have experience of work in various social enterprises, and you worked in India, Africa, and the USA. Quickly, Africa and the USA?
Yeah, so my last job, so before I started off as an entrepreneur, I used to work with this really cool company called Health E-Villages, and they provided mobile devices to doctors in low-income areas so they could treat their patients better with content. So for that, I had to travel to Nairobi, Kampala, and parts in the US.
Did you get to do the Masai Mara safaris also?
I didn't do any of that.
But it can't just be work.
But it was really fun. You think of Africa as this place where you have, how people portray it. But it's
so lovely, very
exactly.
talk about inclusive. I thought it was very nice. I felt no trace of racism towards Indians, which are mentioned and all that. I felt very comfortable. But I must say, I had a dream that I could take lots of Indians and lead them in the Masai Mara because the lions are hungry. Did you have a similar dream ever?
No.
I guess you're a nicer person. All right. Okay, well, now let's... and USA?
Yeah, so
you went to the mental disability bit, you went to work with Donald Trump. Not funny.
No, US was a head office in Boston, so I would just keep going there for fundraisers, conferences.
You've got a good life going, huh? So
I used to.
All the sensitivity is paying off. Let's talk to Rohan.
Now she goes to Chembur and Bandra.
Oh, God. And hence Kaire. Rohan, you're a social entrepreneur. You're a spoken word poet, is it?
Yeah.
Which means you don't write, you just...
No, I write too. I write the content.
What the hell is spoken word poet? What does that mean?
It's basically a spoken word or a slam poet. I mean, we don't know. We are the kind of people that have a lot of things to rant about but don't know how to rhyme. So that's what I do.
Is it okay to ask you on the spot to do something?
I mean, we could do something.
Can we? Just to get an understanding, because, I think people just think of poetry as something of 8 lines, with A-B, schematic kind of thing on paper. So, go ahead.
Yeah. Which one?
We can. I mean, we can do that. It's about 2 minutes long. So.
Please.
Okay.
Take your time. 2 minutes is as much time as I give my wife. Come on.
Go for it.
Okay. Dear mental health ally, so we finally meet. You may be a father, a mother, a lover, or a friend. There's a lot I have to clear, and this might offend.
My condition is not a switch you can turn off at will. I'm on top of it all, and then I tumble downhill. I cannot tell you when. I cannot tell you why. I cannot tell you where. I cannot tell you what I will feel like tomorrow.
Dear mental health ally, I've had enough of being told which celebrity shares this condition I hold. All I hear about is this link with being creative. But how can you create in a state so vegetative? You know there is nothing that I wouldn't trade to have a single night where I'm not afraid. I'd love to see you finally find that being patronizing is far from kind.
Dear mental health ally, I do not need your creepy gurus to milk my label, some Oprah or Chopra with their spiritual fable. I may be crazy, but it's so easy to see the money they make off of people like me. Some patent happiness and others patent divinity. Everything works with Shri 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 to the power of infinity.
I was pretty good at statistics and regression until I was made to sit on that chair for a session of some mumbo-jumbo hypnosis crap telling me I'll be okay. Did you not see that trap?
And they will talk to you and walk with you and unravel layers of some previous life, trying to unfold whether you were an animal or an evil king's wife.
Believe me, that's the last thing in my head. I'm still thinking of ways to keep myself from being dead.
Wow. I must say, took a few shots at some iconic figures, which I enjoyed. But I want to ask you this straight off. When you're dealing with mental illness, we have this, we, the layperson, who presume we're not mentally ill, and for some reason I don't know why that happens. We try, the patronizing, that's the whole thing, we treat people differently.
Yeah.
Isn't that mostly the problem? You see the way you talk to a person who is supposedly mentally ill, you talk as if they can't hear you, or like they're 3 years old. Is that part of the problem? I noticed that, we immediately change our behavior, like it's a new animal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 37, and when I go to my shrink, sometimes my shrink still tells me to go outside so he can talk to my dad alone. I'm like, I'm here. I mean, you can tell me. I mean, what are you going to tell him? Like, be nicer to him, be better to him, or make sure he gets more exercise or more food. I mean, that's something you can just tell me. But unfortunately, with mental health in India, you kind of lose all your rights. So I literally cannot take a lot of decisions on my own, even though I'm capable of, just because I've been diagnosed with something. So that's the thing. You always need someone to sign off, and you always need an attendee or a what do you call them?
Okay.
Look, why do we do this as human beings? I'm asking you this all seriously.
Yeah.
Why do we just change? And just because the person may be having this, it's almost the same thing as, having anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is their condition. You have your own conditions. It's why do we switch personality?
I think
Why do
it's
we do
about
that?
like this whole, like we tend to want to fit everybody in what we call as normal, and if they don't fit that sort of mold of normalcy, and if we don't understand something, we're just scared of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much of taboo around like disability and mental health only because you suddenly just see that the whole person is their condition. For instance, if you see someone in a wheelchair, do we really, like the wheelchair is what catches our eye more than the person, right? And if it's a mental illness, if you say that, okay, like Rohan has bipolar disorder, people will just keep focusing on bipolar and not realize that it's a condition like anything else, like diabetes.
What exactly is bipolar? It switches.
Well, it's extreme highs and lows. So your mood.
It's like a marriage.
It's basically a mood disorder. So a lot of people ask me, and the thing is that we don't talk enough about it. So I mean, it's not pagal. It's basically a mood disorder where I either I'm very manic or I'm very depressed.
But that's a lot of people.
So yeah. So I mean, and there are no in betweens. So I'm either very hyper.
If you ever watch a cricket match with me, this is exactly me. I mean, or a football match for that matter.
And people ask me different questions like, I mean, do you have two different personalities because it sounds like that, or do you change your opinion
switch
all the
in the
time?
middle.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't change my opinion. It's more to do with my mood. So if I don't believe in a certain thing, like I'm not religious at all, I'll not change my mind depending on all those things. Nor do I see or hear voices or see things. So I mean, this is something people need to understand, that there are about 247 disorders that are listed in the DSM.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's even nightmare disorder. So
Well, I think they're much bigger mental illnesses like racism, sexism. Those are the real ones, I think these are fairly trivial.
Yeah.
But you mentioned, I don't want to get personal, but you said your dad and you go together. So why does the shrink have you leave the room? It's almost like he doesn't trust you.
It's, I mean, in India, it is like that because I've had...
But you should tell him. There's something wrong with the shrink, and maybe he needs to see somebody.
The thing is that a lot. I'm sure a lot of times shrinks go and see shrinks too.
I can imagine.
So
He gets to you.
And but the thing is that we don't understand this. Even like the doctors are quite patronizing themselves.
Yeah.
The counselors are quite patronizing themselves. So they'll tell you things. It's almost like when she goes to visit, say for example, a gynecologist. The gynecologist literally thinks that she needs to tell her what she needs to do and to be, less promiscuous, to not have sex that
the morality
much and things
factor,
like that.
yeah.
So the morality even runs in the psychiatry industry. So
when you say patronize, you mean they actually deep down look down on you? In a way.
they pretty much.
Instead of trying to help, if that's the right word to use, more than help, I think just empathize is the better word. Yeah.
So I mean, I've also tried going to, like for example,
Have you tried homeopathy? My mom believes in that. For everything, I get 5 white pills.
Oh yeah,
5 white pills. She
water
gives
and
me.
sugar. That's it.
From cancer downwards, all cured.
Yeah. No, I haven't yet. I mean, and if I did it, I probably wouldn't.
But jokes apart, they must have tried a few things on you. Typical Indian experience would be many, many different options.
Like I tried a lot of things myself also because nothing seems to be working, because a lot of like medicines, for example, will target, say for example, a certain chemical reaction that happens in your brain or whatever. But the thing is that that's just that.
Why can't you just drink?
So I mean, I do.
I mean, that's the best thing. 2 drinks and you should be okay. Good to go.
That's the only thing that actually makes me happy.
There you go.
Nothing else.
So medicine has been wrong for years. I've been saying this.
Yeah.
Keep the bootlegger open and get rid of the doctor.
Oh, but also like, because you try everything, because it's you're so helpless at times. So you'll even try something like, I tried hypnotherapy once. And it was awful because it was just the most expensive sleep I've had in my.
I can imagine $3,000 a pop.
Like,
after all
5,000 it was.
5,000.
Yeah, the guy that I went to, and this guy was like in demand. So he was like that guy. I had to pull strings and call up family connections to get.
Oh my God!
Finally went over there. He had like 2 phones, and he had the best like office I've ever seen. In my life. So, and he had sessions back to back. And I realized that I was being conned because half the time I wasn't. And they'd always tell you this, you're not receptive enough. You're not.
And it has to come from you, right?
So
the whole thing about you have to accept.
So if you don't get hypnotized, if you're just like lying there with your eyes closed,
the
then
fault
it's
is
your
yours,
problem.
the 5,000 is mine.
Yeah.
I like that technique.
Yeah.
Great marketing guy.
Yeah. So that's.
We're joking about this, but this was ridiculously stressful after some time because you go to different things. Do you actually feel like nothing is? Firstly, do you believe there's something deeply wrong with you? Because people are saying this.
I don't believe there's anything deeply wrong with me. It's just the way that I react with other people. So a lot of times, even when I go on medication, it's always so that other people have a better time and feel more comfortable or whatever. Because medication really does stuff to me
you
that
should
I
share
don't
the medication
like.
with them.
Yeah. So I'd like to have them, just pop a little bit of lithium and see what it feels like just once.
God.
So, because the thing is that I don't have a problem with medication as such. It just doesn't work for me, but it works for a lot of other people. They can function on a day-to-day basis only because of their medication. So, going the other end of the spectrum and taking them, say, for example, to a godman or whatever is just as bad.
So, hypnotist, Godman tried? Godman has been tried?
Godman hasn't been tried, thankfully, because my parents, apparently aren't into that. So,
yeah, you have another set of parents. There'll be plenty of Godmen. Every week, you'll be outside a mandir somewhere on certain times of the day and hours of the day. Yeah. So, Rohan, we'll come back to bipolar. Yeah. And obviously, it's one of the issues. Do a lot of people not know they have this bipolar? Because it sounds pretty normal. I don't want to make light of it. Yeah. But this whole idea of ups and downs, it sounds very like I know lots of people, including myself.
No, I think the point is that. Like everybody has ups and downs, but when it impacts your ability to function on a day-to-day basis,
that's when
that's when it is an issue. And when
just
it keeps
for the layman again, what would happen? What would happen with the high?
So for me, when I'm manic, I can go for without sleep for a week. Okay, I don't feel hungry at all. I don't lose weight or anything like that. I'm just really hyperactive. You tend to do everything excess.
I would want you in my workforce immediately.
Yeah.
I want to pay for your food. You work 24 hours a day and you don't feel tired. I mean, come on.
No, but then it's also contrasted with the depressive. So where you literally physically cannot do anything. So it's not like, the way they showed in these videos, like when someone is depressed, they look sad and they do sad things and all their reactions are sad. Like you saw the Dobara Pucho video and it was all like, the same story, the one that... I think it was Deepika's foundation, and when I'm depressed, actually, depression is not really sadness. I mean, that could be a trigger, that could be part of it. But depression is actually a state that you get into where, you just shut down completely. So you can't do the most simple tasks. Like I can't get out of bed and make myself a cup of tea or open the door. I can't answer the phone because pushing that button is like the most difficult thing I could ever do at that moment. And you're just lying over there, totally lifeless, and you have a lot of anxiety breaks during depression.
This sounds like me every day. I hate to make light of it, but this is me. I hate getting up. Yeah.
So, so it's just extremes in that way. So it's more of like a mood disorder than anything else. So when people think mental illness in this country, they think, the pagal that you see on the road. But actually, there's a lot more to it. So there are people, for example, who have OCD and everyone thinks that, OCD is that hand washing disease. You have to wash your hands compulsorily. But OCD can be many things. It's just obsessive compulsive disorder where you can obsess over a certain thought, like someone is going to die in front of you and it just becomes part of that. That person is just... you're trying to save that person because you keep dreaming about it and thinking about it. When you leave the house, you're thinking about it. So there are different kinds of OCD.
Digging your nose, is it OCD? I'm a big digger.
If you do it compulsively, and if it actually affects your day-to-day activity and you will die if you don't.
Especially when I'm flying a plane.
And you need medication to stop you from doing that,
Yeah. What about you, Ray? Do you have any of these things, so-called? Fluctuations in mood. What is it?
I've not been diagnosed. Like I've not been to a psychiatrist yet, but I've had like phases of breakdowns and depression myself.
Okay.
And while growing up, so my parents were heavily into art of living and Sri Ravi Shankar.
I got that from the little rant.
Yeah.
From your side.
I mean, like the only thing it helped me was I had asthma, so the breathing helped me.
The Kriya.
The Kriya. Oh, you've done it also.
No, I'm a bit of a cynic. I got to be honest with all this because I find people are just looking for meaning in their life and whatever works. Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that there's a holistic way to heal everybody and breathe from the midriff and everything will go away.
Yeah.
But I think that's a whole lot of but that's me.
Correct. Exactly.
To each their own.
So that. While growing up, it's like a community of so many people, and when you're young, you just like to have company around. So I think while growing up, I didn't resist it as much. But then as I became a teenager and I realized how, like, the teachers just get so much power into your life.
Yeah, it's all
like,
about
I remember,
control. That's what I'm saying.
It's only about control when you're vulnerable, so that they can be like.
They feel better about themselves because they're controlling you.
And when you give
Pink
something,
Floyd, man, Pink Floyd.
and when you give something to someone like hope or solace when they're vulnerable, that's when they get hooked to you, and that's
Absolutely.
exactly what they monetize
I
on.
think you're bang on. And it's,
Yeah.
it's like instead of kicking a man when they're down, you caress them, and then the man's like your puppy for life.
Yeah.
That's what sort of happens.
Yeah.
Okay, there are two ways to look at it. We won't get into that part of the argument. But let's talk now about what you guys do exactly,
Yeah.
all right? How did CraYon start?
So Rohan and I met about 2 years back, and when we met, he was working in a cultural space in Bombay, and I had my Healthy Villages job. But the conversation started when we met because we were surrounded by poetry and comedians and improv and different things.
I
And
suppose you met at the Hive.
yes.
What? My God, man. I'm too good.
That's how we know Naveen and Ramni.
Oh,
Yeah.
God,
So,
yeah. That's with the 17 intelligentsia of Mumbai meet every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we met, and frankly, I did my master's in social work and my undergrads in business. I just over 5 years got sick of the NGO model, man, like the charity model of getting a grant and then blowing it on something forcefully. I was like, social business is the way to go, because if you're looking at the people that you're offering a service to as a customer, then there's a lot more respect, and your ability to sustain depends on whether they like what you're giving them or not. And in the NGO space, people would just take charity because you're giving it, but you wouldn't really know if it's impacting their lives and it's what they really want. Sometimes corporates in CSR and NGOs
Just put the money on the table and say we've done our bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I know what you're saying. That personal touch is not there. You're not going down the entire layer to see whether you're going to affect somebody and help somebody or reach out.
Yeah,
Help
and
is
so
a patronizing word, yeah.
so I was very clear that if I quit this well-paying job, I want
How
to do
much?
something. Not telling.
Service tax
It
included?
was a lot.
It was a lot. No, but that's important. You let go of such a big thing, so I just want to know.
No, but it was a lot.
Can you tell me the money?
But after many years, because otherwise people, when they do their, if they study this, they don't really earn that well. You really have to struggle a lot. But after...
I heard NGOs are the best business in the business model.
Yeah, I'm sure, because they spend no money and they just keep taking.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, somebody else has to donate the money anyways.
Yeah, so when we met, we were like...
So you met at a poetry thing, a competition?
No, we used to hang at the Hive, but
It's a semi-romantic story.
We met on Facebook because I went to a spoken word poetry session.
I hate that. What do you mean you met on Facebook?
No, I'll tell you. Listen. So we went to I went to a spoken word session and somebody performed a piece on depression and I just started crying. And somebody else saw...
Was it that bad or empathy?
It was just really, I don't know.
Because when
it
I
made me
perform,
cry.
people cry and it's got nothing to do with it's totally different meaning, yeah.
And so somebody saw me there, our friend Cyriac Varghese, and he came up to me, he's like, hey, if you're interested in mental health, I know this guy is a documentary filmmaker and he has bipolar and he's researching on making a documentary on mental illness. I was like, yeah, can you connect us? So he just connected us on Facebook. I added him, we chatted
Where's
continuously.
the semi-romance? This sounds like a real business deal.
No, we chatted for 48 hours without a break.
What are you saying?
And finally he showed up. I'm like, hey, I live in Devnar. And he's a Bandra boy, okay? And he's like,
found
is
his way.
Devnar in the outskirts of...
No, I thought Devnar was outside the city. It was somewhere else in Maharashtra, not in Bombay. And
He
then
didn't even know.
It was Chembur, so...
It's the area where certain profession is plied. And so you went and you found her.
Yeah, so
He just showed up.
Like
checked
Romeo
to-
and Juliet, you went to the house, you located... Let's pretend you didn't use any technology. You just went asking. Re, idhar hai?
Yeah, well, it was sort of like that, except that she told me to meet her, I don't know, in some godforsaken place near some police station. It was very dodgy, but it was nice.
But that was just a location, or was that just a sense of security?
No, he came over. I called him home. My mom was home as well. And I just said,
But you've
come
never met
over.
this guy. You've been on Facebook.
And I called him over.
But in those 48 hours, you sort of felt he was...
Yeah, we just kept speaking all the...
No, thankfully there were a few newspaper articles about me and my film, so it
So
wasn't
she researched you.
Yeah.
He has a Wikipedia page.
Yeah,
so.
And he seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah.
So he came home and you clicked immediately.
Well, no, not immediately actually. We went out for a few karaoke sessions before I realized that she was cool enough, and I was like, okay, she can do karaoke. And I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, and he got so drunk one night.
See?
And he's like, move in with me. And this is just like 3 days
Move
after.
in with me.
Yeah,
3
and
days.
he was just-
48 hours of Facebook, 1 meeting with the mother, 3 days of talking and doing karaoke, and you said, move in with me.
That's my thing, because number one, I need to split rent all the time.
Yeah, Bombay.
Not so bipolar to me, brother?
Yeah.
Pretty damn sharp, yeah.
And I was pretty much, because see, I know that I don't think at this point in time, or any point in time, I'm 37 now, that I'm ever going to like actually get married. So this is the best thing that I can do to a person. The best form of commitment is move in with me.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, of course, you're not taking into account what she thinks, which is good. As a good Indian
No,
male.
never.
Yeah, you must not. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll
Yeah.
lots more to talk about the things you actually do now. We've come to the point where Romeo has met Juliet, bipolar or no bipolar, and we'll take it further from there after the break. With us is Ray, also known as Rashna, or rather Rashna, also known as Ray, and Rohan.
What's the best new restaurant in town?
Which bar sucked?
What's the worst new Hindi film?
What's the most obscure thing to do on the weekend?
And what's the most interesting new walking tour?
If you want to know how to make the most of Bombay, listen to the Podcast by thedailypow.com. We are Pranati.
Amit?
And Purva.
We're your guide to what to do, see, and eat in the city. You can find new episodes of the podcast every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you prefer, and on thedailypow.com.
This was the quickest romance. By the way, this is Cyrus Says. We're with Rohan and Ray. The quickest romance in the history of romance is 3.5 days is what I've calculated. And you're all good to go. You moved in actually with your bags and stuff?
No,
She never
I
did move
didn't.
in.
You never moved in?
No, we decided to take a 13-day vacation to Kerala to figure out if we're compatible.
Well, I think that's a good idea. 13 days in Kerala should expose everything. and what happened? Please tell us. Vipassana or more?
No, we still haven't moved in. So it's been 2 years.
You're still
So
in
we're
Kerala?
always
You're
like
still in
staying
Kerala?
over.
Well, in our heads, because I've moved to Devnagar.
Look, I'm
Yeah.
cutting to this other topic about moving in or not. Let me tell you, I'm a big fan of not moving in the sense if
Yeah.
you can come together and stay together at various points, that's great. But you should have the independent space. That'll keep couples together for many years.
I mean, yeah. See,
Yeah.
we haven't, but we do have a space that we kind of like. So I've
common
moved to
space.
Devnar. And so we have our office as well as. So I'm from Bandra. I've moved to Devnar because she wanted a
Which is
nicer place.
commercial place.
Yeah, which is no, it's not commercial. We kind of like I stay there, but we kind of work out of there too.
So what happened to the Bandra place? You moved.
Yeah, I just moved.
So it reversed actually. He moved towards you.
Yeah.
Very confusing geographically, this entire conversation. By
So
the
now
way.
she has a place and I have my own place, but we're just like 2 roads away, so it's nice.
And every night. Every single night. Believe it. Let's move on, guys. Let's see the things you're doing now. We're making jokes and making light of the situation, but you're dealing with very, very, what is the word? Graphic sort of situations. Mental illness, disability, and gender. Let's target each one of them. We've spoken about mental illness, so let's move to disability for a second.
Sure.
Disability is a whole world of different things.
Yeah.
What do you guys do? I know you make films and all of. What do you do? What's the plan?
So we found that a gap that exists in India right now is like 2 things. One is on an attitudinal basis where people with disabilities are desexualized. There is
What is desexualized?
where you don't think they are.
Sexual people.
Yeah.
Or they want to,
Or they want
You don't look at them as people who can have sex.
Yeah.
Okay.
or
And-
who want to, because
who
they've got
want
other
to.
problems in their lives.
Like
you
they
know.
don't have a normal mindset to have sexual thought.
It's not only the mindset. People are like, he's on a wheelchair. Why would he want to have sex? He's got so much more to deal with. That's
I would think that if you're on the wheels, that's all you'll think about. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, and apart from that, we also realized that there weren't enough accessible spaces for fun things like entertainment. Like if you think about it, is your Starbucks accessible?
Our
to
city is not
Tanavira?
disability friendly. Not
It's
the
not.
buses, not the taxis, not the entries, exits to stations,
Yeah.
not the restaurants, not the public transport of any kind, not the roads.
no.
Yeah.
And,
But
and
we
that's
want to
amazing.
change the names of what people with disabilities are called every year. So
Okay, which is please
that's
be as passionate as you want to. What do we call people with disabilities?
see, so I mean, you call them. It's either you're an acronym like PWDs. So you'll always see PWDs and the next PWDs, and we should do this for PWDs.
People with disability.
Persons with. It's not even people. It's like almost like you're not
So
even
what-
making
what-
them
what-
human.
What is the right?
See, I mean, I would just say disability because we'll say differently abled, then we are back to
Specially
disabled, then we
Yeah.
say specially able.
I think the moment you go to that italic and that
Yeah.
attitude, only you're just differentiating and making people feel different. Am I right?
No, and and it's either the acronym or it's an insult word, or then now the new word is Divyang, which is like angelic or heavenly warrior or whatever. So you're making them into gods, or you're making them into an inspiration.
There's no
figure
normalcy.
Or
I get it.
Exactly.
It's not human or anywhere in there. So I mean, and people also, like, the common complaint that I hear from people with disabilities is like, wherever we go, people are like, oh my God, you are an inspiration. And she's like, why? What did I do?
People want to cash in on their karma
Really,
points.
why do we do that? And why do people always say, are you comfortable? Can I help you? F you. The
Exactly.
butler there, just talk to him like you talk to anybody else.
Exactly. So for this, I'll give you an example of how we tackle this. So we organized a comedy show called Sex and Sexability, which was completely focused on disability and sexuality and busting myths about sexuality. And again, it took and a self-imposed mandate we have is that we will not organize an event if a space is not accessible. Now that's we're making it hard for ourselves.
Which place is accessible?
So we spent about 62 days and finally found a nunnery in Bandra called Daughters of St. Paul.
Yeah. Which had...
It's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. There's a parking lot, and through the parking lot there's a ramp which enters the venue, and the stage has a ramp because we have artists on wheelchairs and we don't want to be carrying them up. And stuff like that.
As good a place as St. Andrew's Auditorium we don't have. We wanted to take some people and we couldn't take them in.
And it's beautiful because it accommodates 300 people, and the ramp is also at a certain incline, so it's not an afterthought. It was all built into the plans and the architecture of the place. So it's at a certain incline, so a person can, if they are slightly strong, wheel themselves up. Right. So you don't have to actually push them, because what people do is
you could have wheelchair races. That could be something for the future.
Yeah.
You could bet money. There could be a whole underworld movement, underground movement.
They do have
$45 on Mr. Paintsay. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a good place. We took a long time to find it. We had exactly 1 week now to do the event because we'd already announced it. And we had to do the event. And for us, the one other thing that we do is we never cancel. Right. So, even if it's 3 people, we do the event.
Right.
Thankfully, 300 people.
Wow.
We showed
But the event itself is about people with disability.
No, the event it's India's first inclusive troupe of comedians. So we had Rohan representing mental illness. Right. We had Nidhi Goyal, who is a disability and sexuality advocate, and she has visual impairment, and she's an amazing comedian. Right. And we had Neenu, who's a wheelchair user, and she's been learning improv with ICM. And we also had Gavin Methalaka, who's an actor and an improv comedian who has no disability, but he travelled with us to Gujarat.
Why do you call me? I have all the disabilities in the world, and if I don't, I insist on having them.
We may for our next gig if you're interested.
As long as it's in South Bombay. Because if disability or not, I can only travel that much.
So we had each people...
they would draw on the experience and make light of it? Is that how it works?
Yeah, but in a very... So it's literally like the first thing Neenu did was went on stage, and Aditi Mittal was hosting it. Yeah. And she's phenomenal because we didn't find any other comedian in all of India who could handle such a subject. At least we didn't find one. So we looked at most of their work on YouTube and we're like, no, not really. I mean, because disability jokes are very common, when in that sort of way, a negative way. So disability or mental health jokes, or
you can laugh at yourself. What's the big deal?
So
that would help people who are patronizing and going on, Yeah.
So here what we did was, people had the stage, and it was actually one of those things where people with disabilities, the moment you start making fun of yourself or you get into that self-deprecating zone, people can't say a damn thing to you. Because now you're like, dude, you think you can kick your ass? I kick my own ass.
Yeah. So it's basically jokes where the punchlines wasn't the focus, but they were showing a mirror to society. Yeah. Like Nidhi did an amazing, as part of her set, she's like, how do you find the...
Yeah, she did one about, just
making love with a blind woman.
Making love.
And people thinking that you need to use a torch to find the
body parts. Huh?
Yeah, and Neenu, she's on a wheelchair. So she she goes upstage and she's like, and this is stand-up comedy, and he performed on masturbating in a mental hospital.
Yeah, I actually
How long did you take?
It just never happened because that's what the meds do to you. Erectile dysfunction is a real thing.
Yeah. So we actually, through humor, people learned so much about things, and they didn't just learn about the miserable things which people usually talk about, like these NGOs and stuff. They actually...
The people who came were beyond friends and family as well? Do you think people came who were just...
No, we don't sell tickets or give tickets free to people's friends, and the artists' friends also have to pay for their tickets. It's all organized for people outside. So even our poetry events are it's not poets coming up who are going to like go on stage and read. We curate the poets so that the poets are decided. It's not an open mic,
right?
And it's the general public that pays.
No, what I'm asking is when you have this tricky subject, let's just use the word tricky. People feel uncomfortable, not comfortable. How was the reaction? Because if they're strangers, then you'd get a real reaction.
Yeah. So our audience was 30% of the people were people with disabilities.
Oh, good.
And it was not like it was free seating, right? So it was a big auditorium and people could move around. I think that in the start, like it just got really crowded and we had to let people go, ask them to leave because it got really crowded.
Because people were coming in last minute saying, can we buy tickets, on the spot?
Yeah.
And we were like, no, we've already...
And I think
and you didn't do the Indian thing and sell in black? You didn't? What the hell's wrong with you? We should run a second show. Wheelchair or not, we're doing 2 shows back to back.
And the thing is, we promoted it in a fun way. So our tagline for Sex and Flexibility was, it's true, we do. So that just, I think, drew a lot of...
I would have come. I'm one of those dirty guys, use one bad word and I'm in. You hooked me. I don't care what the subject.
We got really good response. People were like, can you please organize this in other cities and can you do it again? And
have you?
So we're trying to raise funding and sponsorship and we want to do an accessible tour. From
you have to find
Bombay,
these spaces first, right?
Exactly, spaces. And so Delhi, Goa and Bangalore we want to do.
So it has to be pretty much, we have to maintain the same standard as Bombay. So if there's no space like that in Bangalore, then probably not. We don't know.
I'm sure there will be. Just guys finding it. But what about gender discrimination?
Yeah. So I do a lot of work in the mental health space. And I also believe that, say, for example, people who... who have certain sexual preferences or have a certain gender identity, I think they go through a lot of, we impose a lot of mental trauma on them. And this is
we label people and bracket them and this is it. You don't have any options.
And labeling them fine is, but what people go through, like, so for example, I've been institutionalized once, and when people think of a mental hospital, they think of this place that looks like when Leonardo DiCaprio was in that film. And it's not like that. It's like a regular hospital. And I think more people need to understand that when get your family member the right help, because that's a place that can take care of you. I was always taken to a normal hospital, like a Leelavati or something like that, where, because...
The mental ward in this so-called conventional hospital.
In Masina, it's a Parsi hospital.
Yeah. It was a Parsi hospital. There were just 2 Parsi doctors in the whole hospital.
So I was there for a while because I had a major breakdown and I needed some treatment. So there was this guy that I met in my ward. And when he was 21, he came out with the fact that he was gay. And his parents didn't accept it, got him married off, and he was 35 by the time I met him.
Wow.
And he had a child and he had children and he had like the worst breakdown.
So he's messed up his family, messed up that wife's life, but lots of people.
And his own life, because he continued to have breakdowns because that's not what he was. And this is not a person that he was in love with. And these are, I'm sure he loves the kids.
And this is a very common
kids.
story, sadly. It's not like a one-off.
And so he did go through a lot of depression in those 14 years that he was, not allowed to be himself. And eventually, yes, you will land yourself up in an institution because you will have a breakdown after that long. So the thing is that they did admit him because he did have mental problems. But the mental problems could have easily been avoided if he...
wasn't forced to live a life that wasn't his.
Yeah. So, I do a lot of work in that because I also want to educate people on what people can go through when they have, say, for example, female to male, transitions.
Right.
Or they have different, because there's a certain point in there where you're like halfway there and your body starts looking different and you do go through a certain amount of stress and depression and anxiety.
And people pointing fingers and looking and staring. People like me.
Yeah.
What are you? Who are you? Or the guy at the customs telling you which toilet you go to.
Yeah. It's almost that phase when you're growing your hair and you have that Sanjay Dutt phase when it's not completely, so you're not there, you're there. That phase, by the way, That phase was the whole of the 90s.
No, but bringing this whole story about, and this happens in India a lot, of homosexual people being forced to pretend to be heterosexual. And it affects so many people around them, plus themselves, as you said. This is really to be blamed on parents, I'm sorry to say. Really, I blame it squarely on them. What kind of parent does that to somebody? You screwed up the guy's life forever, and then he's consigned to an institution. He loses track of who he is.
And he's given things like electroconvulsive therapy and all, which
is fun if you're very old, but not really a good thing.
So it's not only that, it's also in terms of like...
What are they trying to do? They're trying to re-hetero him?
No, it's not re-hetero him.
Then?
Because that's what at least the doctors in Masina would never do.
One learned yogi has said that he'll be able to cure you.
No, there's a doctor in Kerala also who believes that. There are a couple in Delhi who believe that. There are some, certain clinics that have been doing it under the radar. But no, they won't do that over here. What they're doing is they're treating treating him for depression, but the cause of his depression is this.
So they're doing the external treatment, but the actual truth is you have to
Yeah.
deal with the fact that if he's comfortable being himself,
Yeah.
all this will go away.
And in all fairness, the doctor over there continued to tell the guy's parents that, this is it. This
Accept
is
it.
just it.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, but he's like, see, I'm going to treat him, but what I'm going to treat him is for his depression, not for anything else.
From a purely selfish point of view, and I make no bones about repeating this all my life, I tell the heterosexual community, doctors, parents who are heterosexual, embrace homosexual children. It gives us more girls later. Remember that. Create the markets. Everybody wins. Come on!
Yeah.
Boy.
So,
Really.
but also in terms of problems that women go through, problems that men go through. So gender is not just LGBT or women. Gender is also men.
Right.
And also men like myself who've been subjected to a fair amount of bullying in my preteen and my teen years. And you carry that stuff. And I'm 37 now. I'm almost on the verge of 40, and it still does affect me. So we do talk to a lot of people who are, we talk to the bullies also. So we have an event called
Why do
Bully
people
Proof.
bully?
For various reasons. I mean, sometimes
They seem to have their own illnesses in a sense, because why do they need to prey on somebody?
I don't know if it's illnesses, because I know that
It's got to be a mental thing. Why does a person
a
prey on
kid
another
in-
person who's obviously not happy in any case?
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
see, there was a kid in school with me, and he became vice head boy, and he was always this overachiever kind of guy. Like, his parents would always push him. You cannot. And when he did not become head boy and he became vice head boy, that was also an issue with the parents.
Right.
So a guy like this is obviously up in the sense that he's these expectations, and he's always like this excellent person, or he's meant to be this excellent person, or he's whatever.
High standards for life. It's very painful, I can imagine.
And, he tends to take it out on other people in the sense that I'm better than you anyway. And when he doesn't end up doing better and someone else does better than him,
he goes all the way down.
Or he might take it out on that person who does better than him. So, we don't consider the person who's
where do we
bully
put
the
Hitler?
bad person.
Let me just figure this out. Hitler, Donald Trump, where do we put all these guys? There's so many interesting people. Mussolini. Indian leaders I can't mention because I live here, but there are plenty. Yeah.
See, Hitler, Donald Trump. I don't know about Donald Trump, but I'm quite sure that Hitler ticks all the boxes of a psychopath. That's a very different disorder in itself.
Let's hope we never meet people like that.
With
Alright.
bullies, I don't think so, because bullies, for example, when I meet my seniors or some of my batchmates who tormented me, right now they're nice guys, man. At
And they have no memory.
37, and they didn't think what they were doing is bullying. They were like,
But have
oh,
you
man,
discussed
we're
it with
having
them?
a little-" Yeah, we did.
And they don't feel any remorse?
They feel remorse. They were like, dude, I'm really sorry. And they're very nice guys with good jobs, and they've got 2 kids, and their hair's all grey. And
2 kids is the easiest part.
Yeah.
You comment when the woman is drunk and you take advantage.
Vacations in Bangkok, and these wonderful photos of pujas
Of
and artis on
transgender
Facebook.
people with them, and everybody's a happy community. Yeah.
And if this happened to me, like, say, 2 years after school, it would have saved a lot, because I've been thinking about that shit since the last 15, 17 years.
So sort of you've forgiven them. It's sort of...
Yeah. I've forgiven them because I
goodness is
realize
gone.
it was just a time and a place, and
They didn't seem to know better?
yeah, and I think that people need to, which is why we need to start addressing and talking about this, because I've realized that a lot of kids that we actually think are being bullied, or we always are, end up being the bullies.
Yeah, sometimes
So-
when you do get bullied
It's like
or
how they say
tormented-
divorced parents bring divorced children into the world, in a sense. It's a terrible thing to say. But I've only bullied one type of people. That's bearded women. I just couldn't...
So you don't like Harnaam Kaur?
I love her.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
For a
I can't
moment, I
afford.
thought you said beheaded women.
No.
I was like, there you go, bully.
Not yet. That's a show for the future. All right, listen, we have to wrap up, but very quickly, Mind in India online platform, which is it telling you, are people recounting real stories, or you recounting stories of real?
No.
So the person who's undergone whatever will speak to camera. Is it?
We have different formats. We have one section with just personal stories written, when we have one with videos where we shoot films of somebody else's shot, any films, they could send it to us, and if we like it, we'll put it up. And we have an art section, and we have a poetry section as well.
And you think the world is changing and people are empathizing more and you're getting good feedback from this kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. The first day we
Launched.
clocked 4,000 views on the first day.
Wow.
And now we've just stopped counting. We were very happy. I put a screenshot up on Facebook. I was like 4,000 views, and now I've just stopped counting. But the thing is that the platform that we're using really allows us to go out over there on the same platform, the same blogging platform, which is Medium, and look for articles of mental health and request a published request. So what they've published somewhere else can be doubted to us. So it's a total open forum, where
So
people
in the sense, the internet is really good for you.
Yeah.
Because it allows people to have a voice, to listen at the same time, and also to, if they want to be, perhaps be anonymous.
Exactly. I was going to...
a person doesn't even have to talk to us. They literally have to create a Medium account.
Right.
and add their publication to our Medium page, and we just have to approve it. So I mean, it's a very easy thing.
But the only thing is, for me, last thing I would like to say is that I always believe that when like the homosexual community, if people stood up and said, we're gay, and proud, it would help a lot for the next generation. So similarly with anything, if people just stand up there, the bigger names, or more credible names, the celebrities or whatever, or what have you, I think it would just help when people say, okay, it's not so bad.
Yeah, but
being that brand ambassador makes a big difference. But somehow that doesn't happen.
That's what I've been doing for the past 2 years, because 2 years back even I was like, I hid everything.
That's what.
And I pretended to be normal, and now I'm literally out there telling people exactly. I tell people like at the beginning of a client at the beginning of a job that he's giving me, like, listen dude, I have bipolar disorder, I have depressive phases, your deadline will be met. But on a certain day, I may not pick up your calls, and I may
abuse your parents, but I do love them.
Yeah. But then that's when, thankfully, I have a partner in Rachna who will then the person can approach Rachna and she talks.
Except on Sunday when she loses it.
When we lose it on the same day,
that's really bad. But just one thing, like once we lost it at the same time, but just before a meeting, we just looked at each other and we were like, let's just do it. And like somehow we just got out of it.
5 pills. Listen, I understand you. I hear you. I tell people I've got a really small PP right at the beginning and they just leave the room. I don't know why they find it offensive. I'm like, small PP, people can live together in peace if we come together and talk about it. I've told all my Bollywood friends, all with small PPs, and there are so many of them. They just refuse to spread the...
penile dwarfism? Is
something like that. Don't give us labels. We don't like labels. All right, guys, listen. Rohan and Rachna, you've been wonderful, and I'm sure that CraYon Impact is just going to grow. You don't need my support. I'm sure you'll get lots more. But as we wind up, is there anything else you want to say to people out there, especially those who deal with, perhaps deal insensitively? Is that the right word? I think it's more ignorance. So I think, how do you deal with ignoramuses who are out there and...
I think that they should just be open to learning and discovering what something is and just not be afraid of what they don't know, I guess.
I mean, we are a very, very, very infant stage as far as accepting anything is concerned.
I went to a cocktail party once, guys, and with my friend Kunal Vijayakar, who's a food expert and a moron, and there was a gentleman in a wheelchair and there was no place to sit. And Kunal went up to him and said, I really envy you. And he said it without any mirth or insensitivity. But that guy loved him. He said, nobody talks to me like that.
Exactly.
Just because you're brutally frank and open, they just hit it off. And I was thinking later, that should have been the worst moment of the day, but they actually bonded. Because he just went and said, I envy you, and that guy laughed.
That's because he's treating him as...
and he wanted the wheelchair. Kunal wanted the wheelchair. But in some way, they bonded because of that.
There's a comedian in the US, sorry, I'll just take a second, called Mesoon Zayed. And she cracks the same joke. Good. She's like, all of y'all deep down inside want to be disabled for at least one day. When you're circling around that parking lot and you see that 18 empty spots and you can't find one, you want to be. When you get to the airport and you're waiting in line,
that's so embarrassing.
All of that.
I bang on this spot.
And you see someone just being wheeled past you with the boarding pass in their hand.
Boom. Like Flynn. Okay, guys, stay where you are. We have the AMAs where we talk about different things for a minute. We have a man who is, I would say, differently able but unabled. We'll call him in. His name is Amit.
Hello there, my name is Naveen Narona, and as a gay person in India, I get asked a lot of stupid questions.
Beta, is it LGBT or eligibility?
How do two men procreate?
Bro, is Grindr better than Tinder or what?
We answer all these questions and much more on my podcast, Keeping It Queer, where I talk to individuals from the LGBT community in India and learn about their personal stories. Catch all the episodes on the IVM podcast app or any other podcasting app you like. Till then, keep it queer.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
All right, Amit, it's AMA time. What have you got?
Okay, so I guess the first question we have is from Shardul. You recently shot with Jose for MTV Time Travel. Any fun stories from your reunion?
Yeah, all 4 days I was bang on time. All 4 days he was late by at least 45 minutes.
That's Jose.
And all 4 days he lives nearer the studio by like 1 hour.
That doesn't
and all 4 days I came from South Mumbai, like
all.
Christopher Columbus. Years earlier I left for the studio. But not as bad as Cyrus Saukar, the worst person to work with in terms of time.
I've heard that as well. But I've heard that, but I know that about Jose. He is...
But Jose, let me tell you more about Jose. Lovely guy, but he's on the phone all the time. So even when we're doing stuff, he's just on his phone tweeting and twittering and Instagramming, and then he'll show me something and he'll go back and that's it. It's another generation. It's like the son I never wanted.
So that's why he has 1 million followers and you have 15,000 followers.
18,600.
Okay. Right.
Without tweeting.
Okay.
My theory is if I don't tweet, I get more. So I'm going to stick with that. Yeah.
Cool. The second question we have is from Aniket Paul. What do you have to say about people who break sweets into tiny pieces and then take the tiniest one that you offer them? Why do they do that?
If they break it with their own mouth and then give it to me, I'm okay with it because that's a sign of love. But in India, everybody's touchy about this whole touching with your mouth and all. So they break it with their hands and then they offer to you. I don't have a problem with that. Do you?
You don't have a problem with that?
Chuta, yeah.
No, that's the other issue. But do you have a problem with the idea of making it into small pieces?
I just want the biggest piece.
Yeah,
though.
I mean,
Actually,
we are both like that.
Yeah, I want the biggest piece
And
too.
I don't mind like germs or anything like that. So I mean,
So
I
think
only hate the guy who doesn't order when you guys go out together and the guy who says I won't eat and then eats
But then he
everything off
does.
you guys. That guy I hate.
that guy.
Because I'm like, just be open. Don't act like you're this sweet little darling who doesn't want to eat and all. And then suddenly you eat everything.
Look, what's so sweet about not wanting to eat? You're gone for freaking dinner, man.
Yeah, but there's always a joker like that. I won't have anything. I'm full. I'll just eat it. But before you know it, everything.
Yeah, no, all the
I hate that
appetizers.
guy.
and is that the same guy that before an exam says he hasn't like studied?
Yeah.
That is the same.
And then cracks everything wide
Yeah,
open.
that is
Why do
absolutely
people
right.
do that? In India, we have all these superstitions I've never understood. It's like they won't tell you that they're traveling abroad till they're actually about to leave.
Yeah.
Why?
Really?
Yeah, I had this friend who refused to tell us he's going to Australia. He planned it for months, and then the day before he said, I have to tell him I'm going to Australia. No, but we are superstitious. I was like, why?
You know what?
Something should happen to his car on the way to the airport.
No, what about the visa? I mean,
No,
we
but
should
I have
allow-
a friend who's like that, who never tells you when he's traveling. Maybe it's probably for the same reason. We never
No, there's
understood
a
why he doesn't
superstition
do
about
it.
traveling. There is, I'm telling you.
Oh,
a
that's
lot of us.
interesting. Okay. Yeah,
Alright.
no, this guy does the same thing. He travels all over the place, but he never tells anybody when he's going, where he's going.
No,
Nothing.
if you're going to join ISIS in Eastern Syria, I understand you want to keep it quiet, but otherwise, why?
All right,
what else we got?
that's all we got.
All right. So here are two gentlemen, or rather one gentleman, one lady, who do a lot of work with people who are differently abled. I don't know what the right word is.
Disabled is fine.
Disabled is fine.
Okay.
All right. So you have to do something more with your life than the podcast.
All right.
So we have to find and look within ourselves and find somebody that we can.
Not much there.
No. F it.
Pretty
Let's
shallow,
stick-
pretty
let's stick-
shallow.
Yeah,
Pretty
you're
shallow
telling
guy,
me.
man.
I'm quite happy being shallow now that you bring it up. Yeah. And if there aren't any shallow people, what will these guys do?
That is true.
Yeah, they need us to balance.
Exactly.
Hey guys, do your thing, we do our thing. Huh?
Exactly like how people working in disaster management wait for that one disaster to occur so they can
I
get
mean,
themselves.
the irony is, you're right, the irony is fantastic. Without that bloody disaster, you're finished.
Yes.
Thank God for epidemics. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. If you have any questions, write to us online and you can mail us as well. We will answer. We have a doctor in the house called me.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Sports are the most important thing in the world, especially if your shirt cannot be cleaned. But in the meantime, if it can, turn to the Fan Garage, also known as FG. Say it together quickly with me. Fug. Fan Garage. All that you want to know about sports, especially cricket and football. Is there another sport? Check out new episodes on our IVM podcast apps. Happy listening, mother and fathers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out IVM Podcasts to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.